happy hour, hyped happy hour, talking about life so you might feel empowered. Hyped happy hour, hyped happy hour, tornado on the mic with a guest giving flowers. Hyped happy hour, hyped happy hour, tools, interviews, provide life tapping power. Hyped happy hour, hyped happy hour, positive and light with advice, build your tower. Happiness is key, so you gotta bring the smiles out. Inspiration needs a bit of passion to just wild out. Positivity and optimism when we ride out. Enthusiasm and dreams, gotta feed them till your time's out.
Let's go. Hyped Happy Hour, episode 16. I am Gentle Tornado. I am your host. I am here on the Hyped Happy Hour. I created a company called Live Hyped. Hyped is an acronym that stands for happiness, inspiration, positivity, enthusiasm, and dreams. And I am out here on a mission to make positivity louder. If you see my logo down the bottom left is an H with a heartbeat in the middle because we never know how many heartbeats we have. So here at Hyped, we are living every single day to the best of our ability, getting 1% better every single day. Listen, the goal of this podcast is to bridge the gap between Web3, personal life, and all of that mixed together. So making positivity louder, Web3 what I love, and just amazing people coming on the podcast. So I am grateful to be joined today by this man that I've looked up to, I've met, I've hung out with. He's an incredible guy, good, so humble, good trader, just amazing all-around person. Wappy, aka Nick. Dude, how are you doing?
What's up, Gentle Tornado? Yeah, I gotta say, I love that intro song. You know, like when I look at this show and I'd heard the intro song, I was like, damn, this is taking it to the next level. We've got like a legit intro song. And then you listen to it and, you know, it's like, I like the theme that it puts out there, and then you roll right into the show. So I'm happy to be here and happy to be with you tonight.
Dude, appreciate it so much, man. Listen, we started off straight away with what we're grateful for. So what are you grateful for today?
You know, I think for me, every day that you just wake up and you don't have bad news, you know, so as far as I know, close friends, close family are all together still. World is in a turbulent spot, but, you know, I'm grateful to still have a roof over my head, clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, food on the table, and you know, even if you fight with them sometimes, or, you know, you're not in touch with everybody every day, just having, you know, a support group of friends and family around and knowing that they're all okay today. And, you know, I'll wake up tomorrow and hopefully it's kind of the same thing. But I think when I look at stuff that I'm grateful for, I try not to make it about like material things. And I do try to bring it back to, I think life is so kind of basic and fragile, and we make it so much more than it needs to be. And sometimes you just need to focus on the little things. So I think for me, it's just being able to live probably a privileged life that a lot of other people don't get to wake up to every day.
Let's go. We are absolutely riding. Holy shit. That was the best. That was literally the best grateful, what someone was grateful for. I'm not going to, that's on everything. Man, I agree so much. I think it's so basic that if you wake up and the 6 to 12 people that you care about most are alive and healthy, you can go out and just crush the day. So I absolutely love that you touched on that, man. I mean, I wrote a thread actually earlier this week, and it was the chances of being born are 400 trillion to 1. So when I just say that out loud and I think about it, I'm just like, fuck, man, how can I even, there's no room to complain. There's no room to not be grateful at that moment. Just hearing that. So that's badass. So let's get into it. So right away, dude, I go straight into the origin story. So give me the origin story as much as you want of like who you are, who Wappy is, how your childhood up till now, how you got into Web3. Give me the rundown.
Sure. I mean, so I guess if you look at my dad's side of the family, he's originally from New York, but his family is actually a family of immigrants who, you know, like his father came over on a boat from Italy and went through Ellis Island and everything. So he grew up in New York and, you know, wasn't from like a extremely wealthy family, from like a hard working class, you know, like construction working kind of like family. My mom grew up out in Texas, and, you know, that's where they ended up meeting. And then they moved out to California. And so I was born and raised out in Southern California, lived out there all my life, kind of down in the San Pedro, Torrance, Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, that kind of area. So definitely in LA, but definitely the beach cities of LA. And, born and raised out there, and lived, I would say, probably a pretty solid like middle class life there. I'd say kind of the things that I remember growing up are there's always been these ups and downs, and I feel like that's kind of most people my age probably remember that. There's been economic ups and downs. There's been kind of like a tech boom, a tech bust. There's been 9/11. There's been all sorts of things that have just happened in the 90s and 2000s, 2010s, and so on. So it's always been like up and down. And there's always been times where like, personally or as a family, we've done all right. And then there's been other times where we've, struggled. So I kind of saw that. And then growing up in California, it's just family of five. So I've got a brother, a sister, mom and dad that are still together. So that's another thing I'm fortunate and grateful for. Went to really wanted to try something else outside of California. I really liked going and visiting family up in New York when I was younger. Didn't like going to visit family in Texas quite as much, just because we would go and visit during the summer and it's just hot as hell in Texas versus like Southern California. But funny enough, like graduated school, applied to, I don't know, like 15, 20 different schools. And I don't think any of them were in California. I think like literally 20 for 20 were, outside of the state. Some of them were like in Oregon and stuff. So it's just like, one state up or over, but ended up going to school out in Texas. So lived in Texas for about 5 years. I guess kind of school has never been kind of like something that I've fallen in love with. I've always valued it because I think it's exposed me to things or ways of thinking, but I really hated it just for like the test taking aspects of it, or when you either get something really quick and you're kind of stuck in a curriculum with other people, or there's good and bad parts of school. And I think the like further on I kept getting into school, the more I realized I didn't really like it. So when I was in school for college, it was kind of like an identity struggle, I would say, because I realized like, school was, at least college was like a way to kind of grow your social and, also learn, but you're trying to balance all this stuff. You're living on your own for the first time and you're kind of lost, because if you don't really know exactly what you want to do, it can be just like very daunting. Like, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And so, trying to balance that with like, do you want to go after something that's like extremely, tests kind of like heavy, like a mathematics degree or computer science degree where like they're going to grill you on some of that stuff, or do you want to do something else? So I had always been, not always, but in like high school, I had kind of found an outlet for myself, and it was doing ceramics. So I actually became like a really good potter for a couple of years, and it was just something that actually helped me get into school as well. So the first year of school, I was actually in like a specialized like art program that you had to apply for, and only a few people got into. So I did that, and then while I was like growing my social network and everything there, school I was at was pretty big into like Greek life. So joined Greek life, made some friends there, but basically all my friends were focusing on something having to do with like business or finance or accounting or econ or this or that. And I started to look at like what I was doing in art school and kind of had like, a bit of a existential crisis, like, oh shit, like, am I going to pay X amount of money for tuition and then graduate? And like, am I going to be able to do anything? In hindsight, I actually think like creators and artists have done kind of well over the past, years where I would have graduated. I think it's all about like how you really want to apply yourself. So that's like a youthful hindsight, I guess. Like, you don't need to be afraid of some of that stuff, especially if you've got like an interest in it. But kind of going through all this struggle, the reason I wanted to bring it up was like, I set a goal for myself in like 2011, early 2012. And I had basically like started looking at the financial markets, wanting to learn about them, really taking like a stain from like the 2008 crisis and saying, well, if there's all these like people in Wall Street who are basically just gunslinging cowboys throwing money around and not actually knowing what they're doing, like, why can't I look at what they're doing and see, what's going on? Is it really that much harder that nobody understands it? Or is there a way to like kind of learn it? And so I was really good with computers. That's something I always had an interest in, building them, messing around with them, kind of like tinkering with them, hacking programs, things like that when I was younger. So I wanted to approach it from that kind of perspective. Like, I know there's some stuff I can do with technology. Let's try to learn the financial markets, and then let's see what we can kind of do with it. And I think at the time I was looking at it as a way of, can I use this? Can I try to do something with this to almost enable me to drop out of school? Because I hate school so much right now. And like, I'd rather work like 100 times harder on something outside of school than do what I'm supposed to do in school and just coast by. Because there's just that internal tension that I kind of have with it. So through that, I had set a goal where like I had started learning about like stock trading, and then just because of being a college kid and doing stuff during the day and, markets close at night, that didn't really work out that well. But I happened to stumble across the foreign exchange markets. And if you're not aware, the foreign exchange markets trade like 24 hours a day and usually 5 days a week. Sometimes, you can get outside hours on like weekends, or they open up a little bit early on Sunday, but it was something you could always look at something. And it was something that it was like 2 assets, and they're quoted in a way that's out like 4 or 5 decimal places. And it's just like, it's not like a lot of things that you would typically see, especially if you're new to investing and you're looking at like Apple stock versus foreign exchange. So I was intimidated by it, but I wanted to learn more about it. And I think I remember like having a conversation with my dad when I was like a child where the value of $1 is not always $1. And when you're a child, that didn't make any sense to me. But now that I'm older, I start to understand what that means. And what it really means is, especially in the foreign exchange market, is something tangible where like if you have $1, that's worth €1. But a year ago, that wasn't the case. It was worth a different amount. And so you can start to see that there is values of money, and money starts to change. So there's 2 parts of the kind of like Forex market, I would say. There's the retail market, which is kind of like the crypto markets, which I say is like filled with a lot of scams, people who are taking advantage of retail traders through like high spreads, sketchy platforms, people not doing the proper stuff. And then there's the institutional market, and the institutional market is where banks interact, or corporations interact, or hedge funds interact. And so you have people who have real needs for currency transactions, and then you also have very large speculators in it. And so I had set a goal for myself saying, I don't really know what's going to happen in school, but I want to try to work in the institutional foreign exchange market. And that's just a goal that I'm going to set for myself. And I know that the path that I'm on right now is going to be very uphill, but I'm still going to kind of like stick to it and try to do it. So ended up graduating from school and spent like the first year kind of trying to apply where I wanted to go. Joined a retail FX brokerage for a couple months, but then had applied to jobs right after school and had the chance to move up to New York and work for Bloomberg. So went up to New York because that was a dream I had always wanted to do, and started working in the financial technology world. So Bloomberg's one of the biggest, and was basically working on that platform kind of in a customer support, sales support fashion for about 3 years. And when I left there, was basically an expert on using the terminal, but then also like a product expert on just about everything that they offered in terms of foreign exchange settlement, foreign exchange options, live trading, analytics, historical pricing, like everything. So as far as like somebody that you can talk to about that, I'm one of the stronger people who can use one of those. They rank kind of like the users. So my score is usually higher and considered like a power user, but that's just because I had the ability to work there for 3 years. Enjoyed working there, but got frustrated working there mostly because of middle management. So you could see the long-term direction of what they wanted as a company, but then you had to deal with the friction of middle management, and middle management was always changing itself up. And there were frustrations there because as a new manager came in, they would set new goals and they wouldn't always align with like what the team actually needed, or they didn't understand what they were managing, and just caused a lot of frustrations, and didn't feel like there was as much upward mobility for me really where I was at anymore, and had the ability to leave there and go over to a bank. So went over and joined the largest Japanese bank. And if you take assets into consideration, they're like the 4th or 5th largest bank in the world. And the only banks above that are like Chinese banks, which don't have as maybe clear of like reporting. So you're not actually sure if the numbers they report are necessarily as true or not. And so I was able to work in their New York office and for the first like couple of years was doing like trade desk support. So I would do projects for the trading desk and just kind of look into things, price things for them, or do that kind of stuff. And then the last part of that was actually did make it into the trading desk. So I was analyst, but I was doing foreign exchange sales for U.S. corporations. So was actually talking to clients, pitching clients on different strategies, and then picking up the phone and answering clients for when they wanted to trade. So if they wanted to trade anything, whether it was like a couple $100 or hundreds of millions of dollars, my desk would be the liaison between the market and the client. And so did that for a little bit. And then up until June of last year, that's what I was doing. And then I had been interested in crypto for quite a while, but wasn't happy at the job and wanted to take a jump into trying to get into Web3 and felt like that was a good time. And then kind of got roped into just trading crypto and NFTs for the past year. And I'm looking at like what's next right now, but kind of got caught up in that and was able to make it work for myself for the past year. So I'm sure I'm skipping some stuff there, but I didn't want to go on too long. But feel free to.
What a
if you want me to
fucking
dump
wild
into
ride,
anything.
dude! Holy fuck, man!
But I mean, I guess the long story short there is like I graduated with a fine art degree. I have a degree in photography, and I almost have a minor in economics, but I didn't actually get the minor. So I have a degree in fine art and was able to make it up to New York and work on a trade desk at a large bank. And once I kind of got there, I realized like, I don't know if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm still interested in foreign exchange. I might still go and do it, but I didn't know if banking was where I really had the passion like I thought I did.
Yeah, dude, that's just absolutely wild that you did that. I mean, I don't think a lot of people can say that they did that, and you just fucking went for it. I love that. So let me ask you this: like, do you enjoy crypto more? Is that something you think you would want to continue, or do you have other aspirations?
I would say a couple months ago, if you had asked me this, like the answer would have been a strong yes. I think with what's kind of happened over the past few months, I'm I guess the way I would answer it is like I see a future for the technology, but I'm not necessarily as like head over heels in love with it like I was a couple months ago. And it's not necessarily because of the technology. I think it's because we have a lot of shady people in the space. And to me, the idea of like a Voyager, a Celsius, a BlockFi, um, those things putting people into positions in like the CEO office, CFO office, those types of roles, COO, who have no right being in there. It really taints the space to me, and it makes me just, I don't know, question kind of the future of it, because that's something where those were using customer retail funds and people had entrusted them to be a custodian, and they basically completely broke that trust and did not put any like care into how they were managing that kind of stuff. And so I think that kind of stuff is more prevalent in the space than I had really thought. Like I thought we had wiped some of that out after we had gone through the last like alt season super cycle. And so to see all of this kind of stuff pop up again, it makes me very skeptical kind of about the space. But the reason that I decided it was potentially appropriate to leave banking was the bank is settling interest like once a day. Like it's a global bank. So like you have to imagine there's regions, and you imagine each region is like a different bank, even though it's all the same entity. The New York region will settle interest once a night. And that's only for like interbank or certain clients that do overnight deposits. And so the idea that you can have like a DeFi protocol or something like that can settle interest like every block or every few seconds or just on a constant basis, that to me is like a future technology that's going to probably become prevalent everywhere. Like I don't see a world where we move backwards, where banks start settling interest even less than once a day. I see it moving towards we're going to have constant settlement, or something like that, where settlement multiple times a day. So that's a piece of the technology that I think, like, regardless of how many shady people are here, or regardless of what chain is going to take over, you're going to see that move into traditional finance. The ability to transfer money around in just very fast and kind of like secure ways, I think that's another thing that kind of will adopt into the space. And that's the stuff that I was originally interested in back in like 2017. I guess the funny part is like I've known about like Bitcoin and everything since like 2011, because I had friends in college who were trying to do stuff on like Silk Road with it, or trying to talk to me about Bitcoin and, you know, give the kind of like utopia sales pitch. And for such a long time, I was like, no, I'm a student of the foreign exchange market. You guys will never replace the US dollar. You guys will never replace the euro. Like, I don't want to hear about your Bitcoin. So it took me a while to kind of like get there. But once I got there, the question I would throw back to you is like, you know, if we both had legitimate businesses where we have large amounts of cash, and I said, Tornado, I need you to send me $10 million for like a legit business deal. If you wanted to do that through the banking system, it's not an instant process. It's going to take quite a bit of time to set up a wire. Wire will go out, and you're talking about like maybe a full day, maybe several days before that money would actually get transferred. And then you're talking about like $10 million. So that's a whole other set of checks go on in the bank behind the background before that wire is allowed to leave. Even if like you think it's totally cool and legit, they're going to do a full investigation behind it before that money leaves. And so with crypto, I think there's a way that we can ensure legitimate transactions still happen. But if I said, hey, Tornado, I need you to send me that 10 million, you know, we could have that done in probably like 30 seconds right now, depending on which chain we're doing, or even less, depending on, you know, gas or chain or network congestion, just anything like that. So there's core pieces of Web3 and crypto and blockchain that I think will have to get mass adopted. But I think a lot of the stuff that is hopes and dreams right now, I'm a little unsure about. And it goes back to, if you have a Voyager, a BlockFi, a Celsius potentially failing, what can you really trust?
Yeah, no, I
or
agree.
What can the masses really trust? You know?
Yeah, that's definitely tough, because the masses will come in and trust whatever they hear. And so that's also really fucking scary. So I think, you know, we kind of touched about it on a spaces with you, like, dude, the lack of accountability, the lack of entitlement, just in general. And then like exactly what you're saying, dude, like I actually tonight went to the bank at 4:30 and wired some money for an investment. And they're like, yeah, you know, it's not going to get there tonight. I'm like, yeah, I know. But it's like, you know, it's probably going to get there tomorrow afternoon. And it's like, it's not even that big of an amount of money. And I couldn't do it on my phone because it wasn't a business wire. Right. So like, it's just, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it would be crazy, you know, and it's going to have to get to that point, because there is a lot of money like that, a lot of deals that need to be, or that can be wired instantly and funded and stuff like that. So I think that's good. I also agree with you, man. I don't know how long it's going to take. Like, I think that, you know, with the economy, I think there's a lot of stuff like that. Like, it could get so much worse. I think people are delusional towards that. And so that's kind of scary. And I think, like, you know, it goes back to like the entitlement in the space is like, it's just fucking wild to me sometimes, and the expectations, and then founders not being held accountable. So there's like a entitlement with founders not being held accountable. And it's like, until we fix that, like, I don't know how far we can move forward.
Yeah. And I think, like, you know, almost to the theme of this show, I was feeling it even when like prices were going up. So it's not just like a symptom of the bear market for me, but it just feels exhausting. And if you're constantly draining yourself, especially when you like compound the fact that it's a bear market, so you're around people who are more depressed, or there's less opportunity, so you feel like you're not doing as much, so maybe you get down on yourself a little bit. It's one of those things that I struggle with it, but I know that like the mental place that you set for yourself, or plate that you put down for yourself, is going to have an effect on what you are in the real world. So if you're constantly surrounded by this negativity, you know, what's that probably doing to your mentality? And it's probably impacting you, making you a little bit stressed, making you maybe a little bit negative. And so I think for me, especially as I kind of feel like I don't know what's going on, especially kind of like in the NFT part right now, it makes me want to take a step back and just try to refocus on something that's maybe a little bit more positive. And it's not necessarily leaving the space, but it's just like what you were saying a second ago. There's so much bad that you can focus on here that you want to take a step away from it a little bit, but you also want to contribute and fix it. But you're also like, so it's, you need to do what's best for you, I think. And I think that's where there is a healthy bit of taking a step back and being like, you know what, this doesn't make sense to me quite as much right now. And I'm not going to try to figure it out. You know, I'm going to follow the path that like is naturally pulling me there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. And I think like the reality of it is, in the basic term that I tell people, and I had to learn a lot over my life, is like, you can't do anything. You can't help anybody unless you're 100%. So the really just focusing on yourself and whatever that means, right? Like, sometimes the hardest thing in your life is cutting people out that you may love, but that are not good for you in your life. And I've had to do that with family members. I've had to do that with close friends. Even people in the space where I'm just like, I just can't have this, especially being a dad now. Like I have a responsibility to my kids to be 100%. I have a responsibility to my wife. So it's like, I can't, I'm like this ball of positivity and like, there's like shit trying to get in. And I'm just like, no, like you can't get, like, I'm not going to sacrifice anything for this. And so it's like, I've had to learn that. But yeah, I mean, it could be taking a step back, right? Like just zooming out completely. Like I haven't been trading. Like I haven't been trading because I'm just like I don't really want to trade right now, and that's what I had to do. Right, I'm not really concerned about the money. I'm concerned more about like the negativity and trading right now in the bear market.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. And, for me, I'm just very like hesitant to take some risks right now. And so I don't know. It's just a tough kind of like spot to be in. And I think for me, like, I'm somebody who would not probably be able to just go be on vacation the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah,
just have everything just kind of like, here's $1 billion, go live your life. Like, I would need like a little carrot in front of me to like go and work towards. And I think that's kind of the thing that I'm missing right now. And that was there when there was like always something to hyper focus on or the market was moving so fast. But now I want to get back into doing, I think something, this is kind of what I've said for a while, but was just letting myself get distracted, is just do something a little bit more meaningful or that's not just kind of, trading net zero back and forth
yeah,
on like JPEGs and stuff. Cause I just, there's more to life than that. And there might be the most money there, but there's other interesting things that you can do and you can't just be distracted by the money.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think for me, my goal right now in the bear market has just been creating relationships and molding those relationships into stuff that I want like super long term. Like I feel like the people in this space that I've met, like my friends, like you, like I can just see like that friendship growing into such an amazing thing in the future. And it's like that's the shit I care about, right? Like of course, you want tons of money, but at the end of the day, like those relationships are just so much more meaningful in what you can do in the future. And so like I've been telling people like, yeah, I'm just in spaces. Like I'm just loving that. Like in spaces, talking to people, helping people in any way, giving my message out, right? Speaking any amount of truth that I have is like something that I've really been focused on lately. And then connecting with like-minded people. I think that's helped me a lot.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like, it's a bit, I go back and forth on it. So like, I've been in crypto for like since 2016, early 2017, and have gone through a couple different stages of either boom or bust cycles, but also these like education cycles. And I used to love to educate people on this space. And then for some reason, and I felt like it was maybe more prevalent with like NFTs, but I felt like the help that I was offering started to kind of get taken for granted. And so there were times where like I was doing something on like Polygon or some other chains, and it was kind of not the most straightforward way to get money onto those chains because there weren't as many bridges and things like that. So somebody basically only put like, let's just say like $50 into crypto and was trying to do something over on Polygon and basically found out that they were going to pay a gas fee that was going to eat up all their $50. So I said, hey, you know what? Like I'm going to give you a little bit of money. You can pay me back in like a couple weeks. And so, I just had to chase that guy down for the money. And then basically he was like, I don't owe you money. And he's like, when I finally got him to say like, okay, I owe you money. And I was like, I see the money in your account. Like, I'm not stupid. Like you might not know how the blockchain works, but I know how it works. And like, you have plenty of money to pay me back. And so he ended up paying me back the dollar amount, not the actual like amount of ether that I gave him. So I gave him zero point 0.1 or something. And because ETH had gone up, he gave me like 0.03 back. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, and so there was a couple more incidents like that. And I was just like, for what? Like, I'm trying to help people and all they're trying to do is just like use me. And so that was like something that soured me a little bit. And that's something that I struggle with is like, I want to be a good person, but then there's also like shitty people in this space. And so, it's a balance there. And I don't know, there was something else.
No,
I
I
think
think,
a lot of
dude, I
people
think,
focus on like money and stuff. And like a lot of the stuff that I think we focus on too much in life, I think we forget like they're human inventions,
yeah.
like, And so we put a lot of like stress into something that like we created that doesn't matter.
No, I agree, man. I think like what to your point, like there's been a lot of times like I can say in my life outside of crypto that I've done so many things for people and just been absolutely fucking shafted. I'm a giver, just purely in heart. Like that's just who I am. And
Yeah.
so, like it's gonna happen, unfortunately, and it happens a lot in this space. And there's a lot of fucking bullshit, and that's just how the world is now. It's a little bit amplified, I think, in the space, but you'll find people, I think, as you stay pure, like I think just naturally just hearing you talk about it, you like to give and you like to help people, which is incredible, right? A lot of people don't have that. And I think you'll find people that really appreciate it. Like if you did that for me, I would literally probably tell my wife, I'd tell my parents, we would talk about it. I'd be like, this guy just fucking helped me for no fucking reason. I literally feel like I owe him forever. And I'm just going to do whatever I can to provide value. And there's more people like that than just me. Maybe I'm a little bit amplified just because of who I am, but there is decent people. And, I would say don't necessarily give up on it because you are fucking really smart.
No. Yeah. I mean, and I'd say this is almost like a character flaw of mine because I remember this kind of being, there's like a moment in my childhood where I remember like something like this happened, but I remember like focusing more on like the negative. And that's something like I try to not do that quite as much now that I'm older and can realize it, but still sometimes like fall into that habit for some reason. Like negative experiences, I think sometimes stick with me a little bit longer than maybe the positive ones, or they leave more of like an impression. And so, I don't know. I don't necessarily like that about myself, but I think like I remember some of that stuff and I still do offer help. And it just, I don't know. I sometimes fall back into what I think is safe for me. And that's putting up a little bit of armor or being, kind of like using the introvert card a little bit. And that's why I don't sit in spaces all day. That's the excuse that I have for it. But, I could be doing the exact same thing that you're doing and putting myself out there and trying to do it and exercising that piece of myself a little bit. But that's definitely like a character flaw that I have, which I do hold on to those kind of negative things a little bit more than I think I should.
Well, I appreciate you being vulnerable. We're going to get into that under positivity. So don't you worry. We're going to tackle that shit straight up. But really quick, you had talked to me a little bit about changing your persona from Wappy. So I think it's kind of perfect how you were talking about like a little bit of a change up. You're kind of looking for that. Like, what are your thoughts behind that for the audience that knows you or doesn't know you? I think it's going to bring some value to people.
I think, the Wappy name and everything that kind of got associated with it, it was like a name that I used to use when I would play Counter-Strike. And really where it came from, it has nothing to do with like Cardi B or Wet Ass Pussy or anything like that. It's actually, it's an Humphreys McGee song. And so Humphreys McGee is like a jam band kind of thing. There's like, they play at like Red Rocks. They have like 20-minute songs that are just like instrumental and stuff like that. And my friend group in college was really into them. For the longest time, I was not into Fish and like Humphreys and all that stuff. And just by having to be around it so much, there's a couple songs that I liked. And so there's a song called Wappy Sprayberry. And so I used to play Counter-Strike under that name. And then I just got tired of the Sprayberry part. And so I just cut it down to Wappy. And so, when I was looking at like buying ENS or something like that, I was like, oh, okay, I could go buy Wappy and this could maybe be like, I don't know, my pseudo anonymous way of being like here. And then I did like a YouTube video and then I decided to like show my face and I wasn't sure how I felt about that at the time. But then, my wallet started getting watched and then people started following me, and for good or bad, there's people who like me, there's people who hate me, there's people who talk shit, there's people who copy trade me and then blame me when like it goes wrong. There's, and so there's all this stuff. And then Nansen picked up the wallet and it's tagged as something on Nansen. And, so there's just so much that goes with it. And there's part of me that just wanted to like, I still want to be here, but I also want to like fade back a little bit and just be a normal person and be able to like not have all this other stuff. And I don't know if I really have that going on right now or not, because like things have gotten a little bit quieter and I've taken a step back and maybe I don't need to do it, but there's still a part of me that's like, that likes the idea of like, kind of like a fresh reset. And, it wouldn't be like Wappy leaving. It would just be like, I'm still here, but maybe like, I also have this other name that just like acts as like a more normal person, not to like do anything nefarious or like front run anything, just to like be able to buy stuff
Yeah.
and not have people like question me, or just to be able to like do normal things, or just have like a fresh wallet. Like my wallet gets spammed with stuff, or it was getting spammed
Oh
with
yeah,
stuff.
dude.
So it's just like, you know, there's just so much crap in that wallet that sometimes it's like, it's good to brush your shoulders off and just start like on a clean slate and just be like, so
Yeah.
I don't know if
No,
I'll
I
do
love
it,
it,
but that's
dude.
kind of like, that's the feeling behind it, you know?
So I love it. I think what's really cool is that you don't really use a like a hot PFP, and I love that because I think in this space and naturally in the world, there's a lot of just like fucking prejudgment off of like what your PFP is, or if you see someone wearing something nice in real life, like they're just like, oh, they must be worth something. And it's like, just because I don't have a fucking ape or I don't have a fucking doodle doesn't mean I'm not anything, right? And so like I think that's cool because I don't think you've ever been like that, but you have quite a bit of following. So I think then people look at that and they're like, oh, well, he has a big following, so he must be someone. And it's like those are just two things. Like we should never view people as anything, just regardless. You shouldn't judge them off of any reason until you hear them. And I think that would be cool to kind of you just like you're incognito and you just start popping in spaces and you're this new name and some people might know who you are and some people might not.
Yeah, I mean, I had the PFPs for a while, but I think if you go look at like the wallet trackers, and if you, I think, asked most people, they probably think like I've made like a ridiculous amount of money in this space, and I'd say this space has treated me well, but like I have not made like millions of dollars in this space, like some of the wallet trackers say that I have, or like some people might think I have. So when I had the gutter cat, like the gutter cat was always something that I was like, I'm happy with this, but I also realize this is like a significant amount of money, and I actually don't have a lot of money right now. And like I quit my job, and like, I still have some savings, but it's like I don't want, yeah, I'm very conscious that this thing could become like several months of rent or years worth of rent or something like that. And so that was always something I held. I had the doodle. The doodle I got lucky with just because of something that happened like with Wolf Game, but sat on that for a little bit, and that gave me, I think, a little bit. But that was like the same thing. I very much realized like this is a high value asset, and I honestly had like too much emotional connection to that. And then I had the Moonbird, but the Moonbird, that was the last thing I recently got rid of. And my new ethos towards PFPs is I have a cute war kitten. I don't remember when I bought it. Somebody told me to buy it. I think I probably paid like close to 0.1 for it. It's now worth less than 0.01. So I literally have like one of the cheapest PFPs that I like you could probably go out and find on like the Ethereum network. And like I am totally happy with it now because I don't feel like I am now holding something that's sitting on my shoulders that's worth like $60,000. So it's like, oh, that's not no longer a down payment on a house or a car or something like that. And it's still a part of Web3. It's still pixelated art, and I kind of like laugh at the kitten. So to me, it's the perfect thing because it's worth less than like $30, and I still feel like people still know who the kitten is. So I don't
That's
know.
cool. No, I
I don't
like
think
that.
you
It's like,
need like a Bored Ape to have that, but it's kind of my subtle fuck you. It's like, hey, we went from the expensive one back down to like we're under 0.01, baby.
no, I love it, dude. I love it. I think, yeah, man, less risk. Fuck that, dude. I've been liquidating so much shit. I don't have very many high assets. I probably my V friends are my high assets, but those are like mega long term. But other than that, dude, I've literally liquidated everything. I'm not emotionally attached to any of this shit. I just don't have time to be, and that's where it came to me. Where I was like, dude, I just don't have time. Like I don't have time to look at these projects, be in these discords. I just don't. I'm not even in the fucking V Friends Discord, and it's like the number one asset I have. So I started liquidating everything. So I love that you did the cat. Let's just get into it, dude. We're gonna get into it. So again, for everybody listening, this is the Hype Happy Hour, and what we're doing here is we are bridging the gap between Web3 personal life, positivity, every word within Hyped, and trying to make this shit louder, help anybody in any way, and bring on incredible guests. So we go word by word, and we start with happiness is the first word in Hyped. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you my favorite definition of success. You may have heard it. It's fucking incredible. I absolutely love it. I do it every single episode, and it's still a fucking banger. I'm going to share my screen. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It's what is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. So tell me how you feel about that.
I think it's pretty powerful, and I think it aligns with a lot of the stuff that I was raised around. A kind of like a do good attitude and a do good for others kind of like attitude. And I like that it didn't define success based off of something necessarily quantitative or financial. So to me, it resonates with me, and it's something I generally agree with. I think just about everything that was said there.
Let's go. I love it, dude. I hope to meet your fucking parents one day. They fucking sound like rock stars, dude. Absolutely love it. Listen, first question under hyped is what makes you happy every day? You give me a few bullet points or just one thing. It is.
Well, I think that these kinds of questions are difficult for me because I don't necessarily go through each day and think about like what's made me happy or what's made me upset or anything like that. So I don't know if I should answer something like small, like just waking up and just drinking that full glass of like clean water and just knowing that you're starting your day that way, or um,
Yeah,
it's
that's
the
great,
little
dude.
things
I
for
think
me.
that's great.
It's the little things for me. It's the things where you can kind of like see the beauty in life and see like the freshness in things. And I think it's always like little things for me, or when something goes the right way for you, or uh,
I
yeah,
love it.
I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I love that. The simple things are beautiful, and dude, having clean water is a luxury. So
I mean, I
I
think
saw
that
just
that's like one of my favorite things is just like starting your day, and when you can get like the first bit of like just good kind of like coldish water through you, that's a nice like start to my day.
yes, I love it. Listen, are you a coffee drinker?
I'm not actually. I
It's
don't
good. That's
really.
good.
I feel like I kind of can have like an addictive personality, and for some reason, I've never picked up on coffee. I don't really know how because I was like working like 12-ish hour plus days sometimes and waking up at like 5 6 a.m. to get into the office early. But I would drink it if I ever felt like really low. But I don't get the like that caffeine kick that I think some people really kind of get. So for me, there's other things that I'd rather do, and I think it's like it's water or food that kind of get me going a little bit more.
That's good. That's good. Well, listen, what's your favorite food, dude? Let's just get that really quick out of the way.
I am like a creature of habit, so I'll go through periods of like eating a bunch of stuff and then like just get sick of it. So for me right now, it's Mexican food. I'm living in Texas right now. We've got a bunch of good Tex-Mex. My girlfriend and I like going to this one place. I get a great drink there, but then I love just getting like some basic tacos and like maybe an enchilada or something like that. So right now it's Tex-Mex, but if you ask me in like 6 months, there might be a new food group. My desert island food though would probably have to be like a dumpling. If you're gonna make me eat one thing for the rest of my life, it's gonna be something like a pot sticker or a dumpling.
Let's go, dude. Let me ask you this, dude. This is off the cuff. I probably should have waited till after, but fuck it. Did you ever go to a place called Big Walk in Manhattan?
I
It's a
might have.
Mongolian like barbecue place where you like it's like a buffet. You get all a bunch of shit and then they grill it up in front of you on a walk.
I've been to something like that. I don't think it's the exact one you're talking about though.
We're gonna go one day. We're gonna go one day because I grew up
Okay.
going in Manhattan Beach, so you would absolutely love it. It's fucking unbelievable. Every time me and my wife go to California, we have to go there. So it's fire.
Okay. Yeah, we
All
did
right, dude.
Korean barbecue out there, but yeah, I'm not sure we've been to the Big Walk.
Let's go, dude. Okay, what is the happiest moment of your life?
I knew you were going to ask this, and it kind of like because I told you before, like I was watching some of these back and just kind of like see what I could kind of expect, and I started to get freak out a little bit because I was like, damn, he's going to ask me some questions that I don't have like answers to off the cusp, and so I started to think about like what would be the happiest time, and I wanted because like I just said, like I don't necessarily kind of like keep a list of like the top five or the top 10
Yeah.
best or worst or favorite movies or this or that. So for me, didn't necessarily have that, but I wanted it to be something that it was more than just me. So I think it was something that I wanted to um, either somewhat be able to share with other people or at least like they would feel the happiness from it as well. So I wanted to say originally like it was graduating from school because school was just such a grind for me. Like I graduated a year late I lost like a best friend while I was in school. So it was just like a tough time. But I hated school so much that I couldn't give that like the number one spot. So I think the next thing was like going through graduating school and trying to figure out like what the first job is going to be, and kind of coming to realization that like you're not going to necessarily get your dream job. Like the amount of people I think get dream jobs right out of school, it's a very low number. So there was a grind of like 8-ish or so months, and then kind of getting accepted to that job in Bloomberg, I would say kind of like is that point. And it's not necessarily like because that made me the most happy, but I felt like I had been able to go and kind of like get something that maybe was out of reach a little bit, but then also like show my parents like, okay, like I'm not a full schmuck. Like I can get employed somewhere, and like I'm going to move to New York. And, that was a whole different thing. It was just like being almost poor for a couple of years because like all your money goes to rent and stuff. But, just that made me feel like, okay, like this is the start of you maybe being able to make it a little bit, or like a door has kind of like opened and you're closing a chapter on something that was like, it needed to get done, but it was a messy chapter.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. I think like I love that you don't necessarily think about these moments a lot, but I think a lot of my questions are kind of like spur of the moment, like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, right? So like, what you said, like if it is graduating college, I think that's great, dude. Like, I only did 2 years of college and it was a fucking accomplishment, man. I fucking hated college too. I only went to college for football. And playing college football was probably one of my biggest accomplishments in my life. And so like, it's just like instant things, right? Like that's kind of, I'm so grateful that you listened to the episodes. And I think it's kind of fun for people that haven't listened when I have a guest on that haven't listened and also have, because I think still even listening to the questions, they're still surprising questions and they're definitely not easy questions. That's where I think growth comes, right? When you step outside your comfort zone and share these things. And I like honestly admire you for the things that you've already shared on the show, because I think you're really already stepping outside your comfort zone. I'm not saying you necessarily live in your comfort zone, but the things you're sharing are very personal things that are going to help someone listening for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to push it a little bit, because if you live inside your little comfort zone, you don't grow. And as much as it like pains to grow sometimes, like you want to be a well-rounded person. And if you're not very social, how are you going to grow into being able to talk to people or present things or do anything like that if you never push that comfort zone? If you're not this or that, you've got to push yourself a little bit. And it doesn't mean you have to like take yourself and put yourself into something that's so foreign and so uncomfortable every single time you do it, but you need to push the boundaries a little bit. And, I think when I was thinking about like really reflecting on like happiness or anything like that, my parents never put pressure on me to be like, you have to be a doctor or you have to be this or that. And that was a struggle for a while, because you have to kind of come up with what you want it to be. But I think deriving happiness from being able to accomplish something that makes other people kind of like feel accomplished, that's where you can derive some happiness.
Let's go. I absolutely love that, dude. I love, I think, like I love that you said that, dude. I love that your parents didn't push you into anything. And I think there's like this happy medium, especially being a parent myself now, where it's like 50% of it is like pushing your child, but then letting them do their thing, right? You don't want to force your child into anything, but like, I'm going to want my son to play football, lacrosse, baseball, whatever. If he hates all of them, then cool. Like you're not playing any of them. But if likes one of them 75%, then okay, let's go a little bit harder at this, see if you really like this, and then like do those things and kind of mold it. So that's kind of cool that your parents did that, and then you grew into this, going to New York, going on your own, doing this badass job, and then fucking getting into the international stuff, and then now you're back in Texas. And so like I think that's super cool. That's badass, dude, for sure. I love it. The last question under happiness is, what are some top communities in the NFT space that you're in? And are there any that you're involved in that you would like to highlight, that you enjoy?
So as far as like the big communities go, the Nifty has always been one for me. There's a lot of good people in there. And as it's gotten bigger, I still very much appreciate like the core group of people in there that like I started with or that I've gotten close to. And from there, like I've been able to break out into like, a couple of other smaller servers with people and, been able to grow those relationships. So I super value the Nifty for what it's been able to do for me in terms of real life connections and just in the space connections or friends that I've been able to make. There's another group that I've been a part of. We call them the Pineapples, and we were like an alpha group. And, with when kind of like the whole market just, there wasn't as much like opportunity, which has pretty much been this whole year. That's been more just like a community. And I would say there's like a lot of smart people in there, and it's something where, there's like a higher level of kind of like conversation that goes on in there generally. Like they're still joking around and stuff like that. But as far as like talking to people about like Web3, blockchain, NFTs, trading, emotions into it, when you shouldn't take prices, like I feel very good in that group. And that's always been something that we've had like as a smaller kind of closed off community. There's not really a reason to get into it now because, like I said, it's mostly just our community, and there's not like a lot of new information that comes through there. And then, the smallest one, and again, it's like it's not really like a community, so to say, but like I got into NFTs because of Zed Run, and so there's a server that I'm in called like Sean versus All. And what he used to do is he was big into Zed Run. I don't think he really does it anymore now, but he was streaming on Twitch with his roommate. And so his roommate, Timotezi, was like a software developer, and they had created like a little betting game. So they would tie into the API for Zed Run races, and then they would stream in real time, and the race would come up. It would give odds on all the horses, and you could use play money to like bet. So like, a few times a week or every night a week, they would stream that. And so that community started to grow, and Zed was like my first kind of like real NFTs that weren't Nifty Gateway. And that server's still going. So we don't really play Zed in there anymore, but there's like a core group of us that have a few like, channels that we talk to each other still almost every day. And we share stuff that's going on in real life, but we also share stuff that's going on in like the NFT market. But it's more of like a friendly thing. But again, it's not like you can't go buy an NFT and join this one. This is just like, if you're one of our friends, we'll invite you into the group. And, it's just, this is just like, when I talk about like, this is the core group of people that I've always talked to, it's like, this is them. And it's just a bunch of normal people, and we all just have our eye and ear on the market. So like some of us might be like, on vacation or at the supermarket or something. And we used to be like, oh, this thing's minting right now. Here's like all the information, like you guys go. And it's only like 15 or 20 of us. So it's like somebody always had their eye and ear on the market, but that's been kind of like my closest group. And, we're really like tight over there. Like we are the kind of people who, if you need like $10,000 loan, like we've all given each other like, high value loans, and no one's ever screwed each other over. We've all met each other in real life. We know where each other live and stuff like that. We've gone to Vegas to vacation and stuff like that. And like quads in there. And I don't know if anybody else from NFT NYC is in there who's like a constant talker, but that's like how I met Quad. And so like without that group, like would have never met Quad, would have never hung out with Quad in real life, and then all the people that Quad knows, like would have never met them. And so it's just like, that's a good example of, how this space, like you can meet people, and it's like, you can have a real connection from it. So I think those are my three. And I guess two of those are kind of not real or kind of closed off and not able to get into, but there's good people in all those.
Yeah, I think that's probably more important than an NFT project, because that core support system, that core friend group, that core just like-minded people there's growth inside of that. There's help inside of that. There's friendship. There's so many different things. And like, I have a few of those. I don't necessarily have private discourse, but just, like I was saying before, like private conversations. Like I really make an effort to keep the conversation rolling with the friends that I really appreciate and like in the space, and growing that for sure. So I value that. That's probably like the number one thing I value in Web3 is like the people that I've connected with. It's funny because I tell my wife, like, these are people, like, I tell her, I was like, these are people I could be friends with forever. She's like, yo, just like, slow down. I son, fucking know these people. I was like, listen, I've met most of them. So I know that they're real people. And so it's kind of funny, but like, that's the value that I see, because I just had a lot of shitty friends in my life. So like, that's just something I put on a high pedestal, as someone that's a good person or willing to just be like-minded and want to grind like me.
Yeah, I mean, like with you specifically, like I forgot what it was, because like I had started not being always around like the morning shows and stuff, and so then I kind of like came back on the morning show, And I was like a little not unsure of you at first because like I get like a 30-second clip of Tornado coming on at the end of the Nifty show and it's just like, let's fucking go, we're gonna make it, we're riding, da 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 da. And so at first it's like without the context, you're like, this guy's a little much on energy. But then either through you trying to make yourself more known or me being intrigued or it just naturally happening, like somehow we cross paths a little bit more and I start to see a little bit more into who this guy is and what he's about and start to see the motivation videos and slowly the pieces start to come together and you start to see who Tornado is and you realize like, oh, this is a good person, this is somebody who like I maybe want to interact with a little bit more than just like buying his JPEGs or selling him JPEGs. And,
Yeah.
so I think that there are real kind of like relationships that can be formed in this. And it's going to be interesting to see like how long they go and if they kind of sustain, if, NFTs kind of go away, so to say, or, just cease to
Yeah.
be kind of like what they were last year.
No, I love it, dude. I think it's kind of funny you said that because the first time I met Pio, he said to me, he said, "Man, I was honestly really nervous to meet you because I didn't know if you were gonna be a crazy dude." I was, I was like, dude, like I get it, like I got a lot of energy, but I said, dude, I have to run a business every day. Like, yeah, I have energy, but yes, I'm a normal guy that just is passionate about a lot of things. So it's kind of funny when he said that, but I get it. I get that people got their guard up. They don't know. And honestly, I wish I had a little bit more time on the morning show to like express that, like, hey, I'm a normal dude that has ran a very successful business that actually knows what the fuck he's talking about. I just have a lot of energy and passion, and so that's funny. I'm glad that we have at least bonded a little bit and grown that relationship. Let's move to inspiration. So I love inspiration, man. One life. That's what I like to say is we got one fucking opportunity. We got to get up every day and just do our best. That's plain and simple. I want to give you some flowers and just say that you inspire me. You inspire me with your knowledge, your work ethic. Just hearing these stories, dude, is just like so inspirational. And just, you have this like, you want to give a little bit reserved, but I admire that. And then you want to just get better. Like you're almost just like looking for knowledge. And so I just want to throw you some flowers and say that you inspire me, and don't fucking stop being Nick or Wappy or whatever your new name is. Cause I'm riding, dude. I'm riding with you. Don't you worry. Um, what is one lesson in your life you've learned the hard way?
Um, I don't know if I have something like specific that like ties to this, but I think something that I've always thought about and like when I was in like high school, like I went through a period where I got like pretty heavy because like I was playing a lot of video games and not working out a lot and eating a lot of junk food and probably like semi depressed in that like phase a little bit too. But even on like little things, because I used to go surfing, and so then there was like a giant hill that you had to bring the board back up, and I would try to like run back up that thing the entire time. But both going down it and coming back up it, there was like a path that you could always take that would be easier. But I've kind of said this like in some of the things that I've done when I've been working on it or when I've been in school or whatever, but like don't take shortcuts. If you can, especially if you haven't earned the right to take the shortcut, don't take shortcuts because it's just not going to do anything for you in the long run. You get more out of pushing yourself a little bit further. And so I remember it, I guess, wouldn't say it's like the hardest thing or the most inspirational thing I've ever done, but like when I was trying to like lose that weight, it would be don't take a shortcut. Like you're going to go down the hard way. You're going to go out for like the full 1 or 2 hours, and then you're going to go back up the hard way, and you're not going to take any shortcuts. Because if you're going to take a shortcut, the only person that you're really hurting here is you. And so what do you get out of that? So I don't know if that kind of answers the question.
Dude, but... yes, dude. Fuck, you're just bangers, dude. Every answer is a banger, and I'm not just saying that. Okay, I don't just say that shit. I'm honest, so I'll tell you if it sucks. But no, that's good, dude. That's really good. And I love that, dude. Doing the right thing. I like to say doing the right thing is always the right thing in the process, man. Like what you said, like you don't take the shortcut. Don't take the easy way out because you're right. The only person you're hurting is yourself. And, growth comes when you step outside your comfort zone, like we've been saying. This is a new question that I want to ask. I've never asked anybody. But can you tell me the best advice you've ever gotten?
The one that resonates with me the most or sits with me the most is lean into stuff. So going back to like being uncomfortable, like I think just like looking at jobs is maybe the most easy way to look at it. But like, let's say you don't know exactly what you want out of school. You're applying for jobs. You think you want to be I don't know, an accountant or something. And you go and apply for all these jobs at accounting firms, and like somebody might say, you know what, like I know you applied to be an accountant, but we actually have a job as an auditor. And so like you're like, oh well, you could look at that and say like, well, fuck that, I don't want to be an auditor, I wanted to be an accountant, or whatever. Those maybe are too
Yeah.
close together in this example, but you get what I'm trying to say. But like you could also take a look at it and say like, you know what, I never thought about that, maybe I'll lean into the opportunity. And so I think when you're unsure of something, or when you're uncomfortable, or kind of when your back's up against a wall, instead of freaking out about something, sometimes you just need to lean into something, or lean into what doesn't seem right. So like, you might think, hey, I want to be a pilot, but then like a path might come along and might take you towards a mechanic. And you might look down on a mechanic right now, but then if you had actually leaned into that path, you might find like, I love everything that goes on with like working with my hands and machinery. And, you might have looked down on it, but then you realize like, oh, there's actually a whole other side of this that could turn into like a beautiful life and business for myself. And I never thought that, because I wanted to be a pilot or something like that. So I really think that like, that's difficult pill to swallow, but there's times where you are presented with a choice, and sometimes it is healthy to lean into something that feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's a lot of, like, I like to say divine timing. Like, if something like that were to happen, I like to say it's divine timing. It might be for a reason. So I love that you said that. In your life, do you have anybody that's like an inspirational leader that you've looked up to your whole life, or anybody that's just been like an inspiration to you?
Um, Not really like a figurehead or like an idol, I would guess. I would say there's been people who have like come and gone as like idols that are kind of, I guess, like celebrities, but I don't really respect them as much like now, or the people that I respect now are not the people I respected when I was younger. So, I mean, I still put, I think, a lot of value into just what I see my dad do, because I feel like he's a hardworking, good guy who, like in his business knows everybody's name from like janitor staff up to the other kind of like people at his level. And so he's always just been like a hard worker, do good kind of person who tries to treat people like fairly. And, I don't necessarily think that he gets everything back from the world that like should be, but, that's one person I look up to. And then I do have a mentor, and I think that person contrasts my dad a little bit, because they don't give that like necessarily fatherly advice, but they give like advice that maybe sometimes hurts to hear, or is a little bit more of that sharky advice that you're maybe like looking for from somebody. So I do still look up to them. And, and then there's other people that I've looked up to that are like family or close, but they're not around anymore. So you have to just kind of look up to their memory.
Yeah, no, I love that, dude. And I like to say like I have a tattoo for my grandpa, for three of my grandparents that passed away. And it's like just living what they taught me, like living what they taught me. And that's the memory that I can serve the best towards them. But I love that. So how did you find a mentor? Tell me about that a little bit.
That was through like family. So like the mentor is actually somebody that they had kids, like I think my brother's age, and then close to my sister's age, so a little bit younger. But then, they were around through that. Parents were friends, and then kind of like I think through some of the struggles that I was having in school, there was just kind of a, it was a good thing to have another adult figure who wasn't a parent kind of come in and act as somebody who you could bounce ideas off of, or kind of talk through things. So it was just somebody who's, we've had dialogue through like text or phone calls, and we don't talk like every day or every week or even every month or quarter. It's kind of, we check in on each other kind of as needed. But that was just somebody who could kind of like put you in check a little bit, and isn't a family member, so you don't feel like you're getting the family member bias or judgment from it. So it was definitely something that I think like if people are going to do something like this, like it's not don't just jump into the first person that, comes your way. It's something that you want to make sure you're comfortable with them and they're comfortable with you. And I think we had a dialogue about that, but then like he actually made me sign something that was essentially like, I'm taking my time to do this with you. You're going to take it serious. And then the other thing that I ask for is that at some point in the future, you do this to somebody else. So it's kind of like a continues on kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's sick, dude. I love that, man. I love that to continue it on. I think that's super cool. I have two mentors in my life that I don't necessarily talk to every day, every week, every month, even every 6 months, but have really changed my life. And the unbiased, I think going to someone that's unbiased, and like lately I've been talking on these episodes about therapy and making noise around therapy is okay. I think there's a huge stigma behind therapy therapy is bad. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with therapy. It's people wanting to improve and get better. And so same with like a mentor, looking to someone that is unbiased is so valuable in so many aspects. It's not even, I can't even put a price on it.
Yeah, it's another person's perspective. And I think, when I was younger, one of the things that we talked about and focused on was trying to reduce like the cycles. So like you have these cycles of extreme highs and extreme lows. And if you can avoid kind of like going like this and get more towards like this is a more preferable way to like live, because you're able to manage the highs and manage the lows better and get back to the neutral, the equilibrium, the happiness that you should be like defining for yourself as your standard. And so you don't want to be going through these periods where, oh my God, I'm on top of the world. And then the next one, you're ready to die. You want to minimize those. And so, you don't always have to agree with them. You don't always have to take their advice, but you can use them as like a resource to type out what you're thinking, whether it's professional or personal. And, that in itself is almost a therapy, just writing, but then also putting it out in the world for somebody else to read. And then having somebody actually even respond to it. It's whatever like what you're doing with these relationships. It's whatever you put into them. If you're going to half-ass it, you're going to get half-ass results. If you really want to make meaningful questions or changes to yourself, then it's whatever you are going to put into it, you kind of get out of it.
I love it. I think that's just the way in life too. Like whatever you put in, you're going to get out. This is the final question. Okay. What's your favorite inspirational movie?
I gotta pull up what it is. So there is I don't know if you would call this inspirational, but I would guess it's like, this is kind of the way that like I used to get fired up about stuff. So there's a Miles Teller movie called Whiplash. Do you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So Whiplash is Miles Teller is like like probably like young college guy, I want to say. I don't think he's in high school anymore, but like young man who goes to school to become like a drummer, and he just gets pushed hard and hard and hard and hard. And I think for me, it's like almost he's getting pushed so hard, and it's almost like bullying, but he wants to push through and become the best anyways. And so I don't know, there's so much about that movie that I love. It's got great music and drums in it. It's got a lot of like drama in it. I think it's really well filmed. It's got good actors in it. But for me, that's like, it pushes me. It makes me want to do better. It makes me want to learn. It makes me want to go out there and realize like, if you want to be the best, if you want to be competing with the best, like it hurts. It's a struggle. You're going to get bruised. You're going to get beat, but like, you got to just keep pushing through it.
Yeah. I love it, dude. I love it, man. First time we've heard that one. So that's exciting.
Great movie. If people have not seen it, go watch it. Whiplash.
Yeah. Love it. Let's go, baby. Whiplash. You heard it first. Hype Happy Hour. Okay. Go watch Whiplash. Okay. We're moving into
the other one. I got to just throw this in. Cool Runnings is also a classic inspiration.
Cool Runnings, dude. Epic movie. I've probably seen that movie 1,000 times, dude. Oh, Cool Runnings, dude. Oh, what a good movie, man.
Second place there from that one.
I'm going to show my kids that, dude. I'm pumped. My kids
are
like
no,
dude, my oldest son is like almost 4. So he's like,
okay,
only like certain movies, but we're like starting to like, he has this thing where like we're like going through the Disney movies, right? And I'm like, I wanted to watch Hercules. I'm like, that was my shit. I just wanted to watch Hercules. He's like, no, I'm not watching Hercules. I'm like, fuck, I'm just gonna put it on one day. But he's like, he doesn't want to watch it, so I'm like, okay. So we see Bug's Life. I'm like, I used to fucking love Bug's Life. My wife's like, hey, Bo is his name. She's like, hey, Bo, do you want to watch Bug's Life? He's like, absolutely not. No, I don't like it. And we're like, you don't know if you don't like it. You've never seen it. We turn it on. He's hooked. He loves it. So I think what I'm going to start doing is just putting on different movies like every day. And definitely Cool Runnings is good, man.
There's some classic ones from like the 90s that you got a whole backlog for them.
Oh yeah, dude. I used to live for movies. I used to watch so much movies when I was a kid. So I love it. Fuck, that's a good one, man. All right, dude, let's get into positivity. Listen, positivity is absolutely massive. I am on an absolute mission to make positivity louder. Negativity is so loud in our world. We've already touched on it a little bit that you've had some struggles with negativity. I've had struggles with negativity my whole life, and I've had to really, really, really work on being positive and eliminating negative things from my life, like I was telling you before. So the first question normally is if you struggle with negativity, but we've already talked about that. So do you have any processes to combat your negativity, to lean into positivity, or is that something that you really want to work on?
No, I think I would say like my negativity comes from, I feel like I view the world in kind of like as a more realist, than I do maybe like as an optimist. It's not to say like I'm super pessimistic on everything. I try to look at things and understand that like the world is a dirty place, and like it's not always like as clean as we might hope it to be. So I just know that's out there. But I try to not let negativity seep too deep into me. And when I do try to like catch it, I try to figure out like what can we do to at least just kind of like stop it. And I struggle with that a little bit right now too, because there's sometimes where you just are in a mood and like you're with your friends or something and you're like, I don't fucking want to go here, but you have to go because everybody's going. And so it's those moments where like I'm really trying to figure out like how I can overcome that a little bit. And a lot of the times it comes down to like take a deep breath and then chill the fuck out. Like you are the problem. You need to change your attitude. And so I think for a while, like I was so against this because it just feels so cliche. Like when you start talking about like mental health and this and that, and I think especially as people who maybe are actually dealing with some sort of like mental health kind of like issue, whether it's depression or just whatever, hearing kind of like these, well, just go exercise or just get more sleep or just go take a shower. It's like you're like, fuck you. I don't want to hear like whatever that kind of solution is. But I think if you can get over that and kind of realize like, okay, maybe exercising like actually does help a little bit, or maybe getting out of bed actually does help a little bit. I think it took me a little while, but the thing that like getting over like waking up and saying like, what's up, you piece of shit, and like saying, going from like that to just being like, hey, good morning, just like that little mentality shift, like that's a huge difference. And you don't notice it on day one, but like you start to notice it after a few days or a few weeks. And you just have like maybe a little less angst that you're holding on to because you're not like, oh, what's up, fat boy? And like, there's no one around judging you. That's you judging you. So it's like, do you want to be in this mode where you're around people and you're like, fuck this, I don't want to be here. God damn it. I'm just going to like keep huffing and puffing. Or do you want to be like, you don't want to be here, but you need to chill the fuck out and not like ruin this for everybody else or make everybody be like, what's wrong with you? Or like, why is he so pissed off? Or I don't want to be around him. It's like, that's a you problem and you need to like correct it a little bit. And so you need to take a breath and you need to say like, you can get through this. It's only gonna be like an hour. Let's put on a smile and get through it. And I think like it's starting to breathe and let go of some of that tension that gets me there. So
yeah,
that's a long way of getting there, but I think it's like, it's very much like how you speak to yourself, how you are breathing, what you're holding on to, what you're clenching inside of you. And is it worth holding on to all of that? If it's not worth holding on to all that, then what are you really doing?
100%, man. I think like a lot of the battle that you're already succeeding at is self-awareness. I think a lot of people lack self-awareness and perspective. And so, you have to work at it. Like you said, man, it's not a one day thing. This is a fucking 7-8 year thing I've been working on to get to where I'm at, to still not always lean into positivity. And, I have certain things, gratitude is the fucking attitude for me, dude. Like if I'm grateful, if I lean into gratitude, then I literally cannot be negative. And one thing me and my wife have been focused on lately is living in the now. So just living in that moment, present. Why am I here? What is the reason? And just like leaning into that 100%, because it's like, I want to be present, right? And when I get home with my kids, I'm present. I'm not like on my phone or nothing. Like I'm with them, and so that's stuff I've been focused on, and that makes it easy to be positive, because when you're focused, like you said, like your brain, like you just have to make those shifts. You have to say those different things. And the one thing I would tell anybody listening is just to not judge yourself, because we all make mistakes. We all say shit we don't mean. We all, judge ourselves. But like if you can lean into not judging yourself, that helps. That's like insane, man.
I think it's all about like how you view everything too. If you go into life with expectations, you'll have nothing but disappointment. And if you go in not expecting anything, you can only be positively surprised. And I think I try to hold on to that because like, no one should go out of their way to do anything crazy for me. So like the fact that anything good can happen, like you should just appreciate that, and you shouldn't be expecting it. And I think that goes a long way as well. And it's kind of like, it is a little like, I guess, cynical way to like look at the world, but I think it's like, it changes the way the world starts to work for you, especially as like a realist for me.
Yeah, no. I agree with that. Do 100%. Like you and my wife would get along so well. She's literally such like that. She's such a realist. And, but like, I learned this from Gary Vee, but he says all the time, like, have no expectations, man. Like no one, at the end of the day, no one owes you shit. You're not owed anything. Like you have this opportunity. And I think I've leaned into that, having no expectations. And it's just, life is happening, for me, not to me. I love saying that, man, because it's like, yeah, dude, I have this opportunity. Even if it's like, it's been a struggle with my middle son. He doesn't sleep that well. So like there's a lot of nights where, I go up and I get to rock him to sleep. And I started saying, instead of saying I have to go rock him to sleep, I get to rock him to sleep. And then being grateful for those moments. And I'm big on this winning streak thing. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it, but like starting his winning streak off by putting him back to sleep. And the fact that I was able to do that, and looking just like those little shifts, right? Instead of like, fuck, I got to wake up at 3 a.m. I got to be up in fucking an hour for work. But like, it's like looking at those are such the negatives. And when you switch that mind shift, it's like, boom, dude, your whole day is different and your whole mentality is different.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it doesn't go right to what you were just saying there, because that's dealing with your son. And, those are, I think those are events in life that you have to deal with. And you could either be pissed off while you deal with it, or you could just, do what you're doing, which is you've rationalized it in a way to yourself that's spun it in a more positive way for you, instead of you looking at all the negatives that come from it. But when I find myself like getting too worked up about something, especially when I'm like reading something or want to go fight with somebody on like the internet or about something, something that I do to always take like a step back is there's a saying that I remember, and it's, don't take the poison and expect the other person to die. So I think that's a good thing to remember as you're trying to keep personal positivity, is if you find yourself just getting worked up, where you're starting to like feel your blood pressure rising, feel like you're like the redness in your eyes just start to like come in, and you're just like, I'm going to explode. Like, why are you about to explode? Are you about to explode because you just read something that somebody else is saying or doing that you disagree with, and you feel like you need to go and argue it or whatever? Like, what are you really going to get out of it? And if you go and tell them exactly how it is, like, what's actually going to happen here? Are you getting more worked up, or are they the one that's going to get more worked up here? And what's it actually accomplishing? Because if you're the one who's getting worked up and getting high blood pressure and all this and that, you're negatively affecting your health, and you're negatively affecting your positivity. For what? You didn't impact anybody else in a negative way except yourself through your own negativity. So it's not like perfect. I'm sure some nights you wake up and you're like, God damn it, why won't this kid just go to sleep? But then you take a breath and you're like, okay, let's get back into dealing with it like in a more positive way. So it's never, you're human, you're never going to be perfect, but it's like, I think coming up with these mechanisms and trying to realize like, oh shit, I'm in this kind of like negative little spiral right now. We need to figure out how to eject from it real quick because we've gone down that path and we're not going down that path.
I love it. No, I love it, dude. Let's get into some enthusiasm. This is my shit. I'm excited, dude. I love enthusiasm, energy, very passionate. The way I relate it back is one life, man. Like I'm just so excited to get up every day and just have this opportunity. And so I want to share that naturally. I was gifted with this and I want to share that with the world. And I think it's okay to get excited about things. So we move straight into it, man. It's one of my favorite questions to ask on the show. What are 3 things that you're obsessed with right now? What are 3 things you can't live without? Like you can't get enough of. That's it. What are 3 things right now in your life you can't get enough of?
Right now, I've always been very interested in like I guess like macro news kind of stuff, and I just feel like even though the news seems like it's kind of negative right now, it's a lot of exciting things are going on. So for me, just getting bits and pieces of information from that all the time, it's constantly kind of feeding a mental model that I have on just how I kind of see the system working and how everything kind of flows through it. So that's something that always kind of gets me going. Um, what else? I've been doing some more traveling, and it's kind of gotten to a point where it doesn't feel like necessarily as unique or special when I go and travel. So I'm excited to figure out like what's next with that and how I can start to add like a new spin to some of the travels, or how I can start to maybe incorporate like traveling more with my girlfriend on not just like a leisurely vacation, but to go and experience life a little bit more. So I'm trying to I think take something that I care about, which is seeing the world and just getting to experience new things and trying to put more purpose behind the travel that I'm doing. And then what's the other thing I'm enthusiastic about right now? I would say it's kind of like a broad thing, but it's what's next for me. And I think it's trying to figure out like, is it in Web3 or not? Is it have to do with like what I used to do in terms of markets and like treasury management? Is it product management? Is it operations? Is it my own thing? Or really trying to go at, keeping this freedom of not working for like a large company or a boss or anything like that. So I don't know exactly what the answer to that is right now, but I'm enthusiastic to try to figure out like, is it coding? Is it this? Is it that? And I've got like a few ideas on what I want it to be, but this is one of those things that I think goes back to like lean into it. As I start to go down that path a little bit more, there will be some things that'll pop up that I may or may not lean into. And I do believe in fate, but I also believe that we're along for the ride. And while you're on the track through your fate, you have the ability to kind of enjoy the ride and influence a little bit. So I don't think it'll change like my trajectory in the long run, but I think like I have the ability to kind of like enjoy myself and enjoy the story that I'm riding through right now.
Let's go. Love it. You're right, dude. We are riding. What? Let me
I didn't
ask
even
you
need to
this.
do that. I set you up perfectly.
That's perfect. I had to do it. So you kind of said a little bit of fate there, and so I like to ask my guests if they're strong in faith or if they manifest. Is that something that you've had, or are you strong in faith? Or
I was raised like Catholic, I guess. So I think a lot of those morals still are like a bedrock of like probably who I am. I wouldn't say that I like am very active in that religion anymore, but I generally look at all religions and kind of respect them. And the way I look at my faith is that while I don't like actively practice and go to church or anything like that, like I still try to maintain some spirituality and maintain some like thankfulness and just I don't know how you would necessarily describe it, if you would describe it as like speaking to God or just speaking to like the higher version of yourself, but just like trying to have that, trying to, realize where your shortcomings are, realize what you would hope for in life for yourself or other people, but then also just, that kind of stuff. So it's not like a super, important part of my life, but I think like the foundation that kind of like is there is probably like sets up some of the moral frameworks that I probably have.
yeah, no, I love it. I think That's good. You know, I was raised Catholic too. I don't go to a Catholic church anymore. I go to a Baptist church because don't ever want to go back to a Catholic church. It's like fucking so intense and like so structured. Like, but I do believe that the core values are very strong. Have you meditated at all? Do you meditate at all?
Not not really. I guess no, not really. Like, I've tried doing some breathing exercises and stuff like that, but I don't ever get into like a chant or anything like that. I've been meaning to try doing yoga and stuff like that, but again, I don't view that as like just a full meditation. So for me, it's always been like trying to get into like a zone, and it's
Yeah.
usually maybe been with like exercise or cardio, which I don't always do, but like it's go out on like a bike or something for like a couple hours and just grind through it, but you're by yourself. Or I don't know, I guess being in motion is probably like some sort of something for me, because I like either going out on a drive, or I do a lot of thinking when I'm like flying or driving or on a train or something like that. So I don't know what it is, but I think the idea of like
Yeah.
just being in
Like,
motion kind of like
yeah.
helps while you think and go through like what I would maybe call like my therapy or my meditation or reflection. Because I think
Yeah.
you brought it up earlier in this, that therapy is important. I think therapy is important, but I also think that there's some topics that I've been able to kind of get to where I can kind of like have these internal talks to myself and kind of work through those problems. And I, I, I value that, but yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah, no, I think if that puts you in a meditative state, I think that's incredible that you have those things like driving or flying or something that puts you in deep thought, deep focus. I think a lot of people lack focus, and I just fucking tell people just focus and do it. And so I think that's cool that you have those things that put you in a meditative state. Um, just off the cuff question, where's your favorite place that you've traveled to?
Um, I really enjoyed Japan and Switzerland and probably Copenhagen the most. Those three countries very clean. Switzerland is just like you never need to leave it. It's just got everything there. It's a clean environment, clean water, beautiful outdoors, skiing, good summer hiking, good food. Just like it's a beautiful country. Japan felt like a futuristic kind of thing. It's like if you never been over to Tokyo, Tokyo is like the size of like five Manhattans. It's insane just how dense it is and how big it is and how much goes on there. So I think for me, I really like going to these places where they're so foreign or they feel so different. And Switzerland isn't necessarily like so foreign in terms of like the lifestyle and everything that you get from America, but just seeing how like other places like live and interact and stuff like that, where you go and have a good experience or good food. Those places left like positive impacts on me. I also went to Italy with family, and I loved everything about Italy. But as somebody who has Italian heritage in me, it feels cheap pulling the Italy card. So, but Italy is amazing as well.
I'm very Italian, so I'm very excited to go there. My wife wants to go to Ireland, so I'm very excited to go there. I want to go there with her. But yeah, dude, I want to go to everywhere. Like Switzerland sounds sick. So you're saying if shit hits the fan, you're going to Switzerland?
I mean, I don't think they'll let me in, but if they would let me in, so I mean that's the thing is like I don't think that they let foreigners buy like property there, so they're very protective of that. It's a drawn out process to get like citizenship over there, and it's not like the most easy thing. I think you need to be like basically relatives with somebody, or they only want like a certain type of person to be able to get over there. So it's not impossible, but it's like it shows you that they do value parts of their kind of like country and culture, and they want people to come in, but they want to also kind of protect that a little bit. And it's something you can admire, because if you go over there you can kind of see like what they have that's so special. And it's just a unique place over there, and they're not on the euro, so it's kind of like this isolated little economy, and you get an understanding of like why when you go over there. And it's expensive. There's other places I would maybe suggest going first, but like I do think it's a very special place.
That's sick, dude. I love it. What is what do you think the most exciting moment in Web3 is for you? Could be a trade. It could be just a experience in real life. What do you think the most exciting moment in Web3 is for you?
I mean, I could go over like trades and stuff, but trades are just like monetary, and um, I think it's like, it was using the technology, and there's buying on Coinbase, and that's nothing to me. Like you've done nothing except like buy coins, and maybe that's your support to the ecosystem is liquidity. But for me, it was like it really felt like when computers and the internet were starting to become more prevalent in like the late 90s, early 2000s, when I first started like moving money on to MetaMask and moving money around and trying to figure out how it all worked and trying to read the Etherscan and things like that. So I think it was really understanding like, oh, like this is self custody and this is how it works. And this is how I bridge money over, and where'd the money go? Oh, okay, this is how I can trust it. And so I guess eventually like, leaning in and trusting the contracts that you were interacting with to do what they're supposed to do, and seeing that they worked. It was kind of like okay, I see now, like, it's not just like Ethereum we need to buy to make money. This is Ethereum because we're building a new ecosystem. And I thought that was exciting. And I don't know if Ethereum will be the ultimate winner here, because I think that we still haven't seen the war of the chains. But that moment, I think, was like a magical kind of like moment of like, oh, there's a lot more that we can kind of do here, and you can all do it without having to go through all these systems that we hate using.
No, I fucking love it, dude. I think that's a very, very unique answer, and I think that is a super cool thing that we get to use the technology, and it can be so advanced, and it's just going to grow so much more, and that's, I think, an exciting thing for the future. Let's move into dreams,
I
dude.
got one more actually. All
right, let's go. Let's ride.
I got to give you just like one kind of like trade thing. So
let's go.
I was doing a lot of stuff over on Binance Smart Chain before I came over to the NFT space, and so I was doing a lot of like DeFi yield farming kind of stuff. It's primarily there. I was on some other chains as well. I was a very anti-ETH person just because of the amount of fees that people were paying on Ethereum, and for the small amount of money that I had, just wasn't going to be good over there. So there was a token that was getting launched over on like ApeSwap, I think, which is their native token. They're like PancakeSwap, but they're just labeled as apes.
Yeah.
But so they had launched a project that was going to be like a maximizer. So that was like you deposit something into DeFi, and then the maximizer basically figures out the optimal like compounding intervals for it to just constantly be compound. So that was a new idea for DeFi, at least on the Binance Smart Chain. Not a lot of other projects or protocols had really done that. So they were doing like a kind of like an ICO on this. And so you had to stake a certain token in order to be eligible for a certain amount of the whatever they were selling. And then whatever you didn't claim, you got your money back. And so it was a very confusing mechanism, and people didn't really understand it. So what I did is I read it and initially misinterpreted it, and then went back and reread it, and then basically understood that if you put all your money in, it'll allocate whatever you deserve, and then you get all your money back. And so everybody else was only putting in like, I can only afford $100, so I'm only going to put $100 in because I only want $100 worth of coins. And so I was like, that's not how the math is going to work out, guys. Like, what's going to end up happening here is like they're going to figure out who's put what in, and then you're going to get allocated like whatever $100 was out of the total pool of money that got deposited, and you're going to end up with way less than $100 worth of that coin, and you don't understand that. So I just put a shit ton of money into that and ended up getting not like a crazy allotment in it, but like a good little chunk of token. And then the token just started like taking off almost immediately. And when things go up too fast or too high too fast, you know when that is, and you need to take the money off the table. And so I took the money off the table. There's just a big dick red candle that basically like brings it back to like ICO price. And so that was like one of those things where I was like, okay, like, and then you go and look at it now, and that project has just completely like failed and died. So I don't know. That's
wild.
I'm happy
dude,
with like
sick.
the trade and understanding like what's going on, but that's where I think like, something I've always tried to tell people is there's always a bigger shark out there. And like, if I think I'm smart, like the moment I start thinking I'm smart and that I'm the biggest and best out there, like that's the moment somebody's going to come along and bitch slap me back down. There is always somebody better. Never assume that you are the best and smartest and most capable person out there, because the moment you do, you're going to get humbled.
I love that, dude. I love that. What is your biggest flip? Like, what was your biggest flip? And like, did that get you excited? Was it like a euphoric? Like, say, I don't know what your biggest flip was, but I mean, was it fucking exciting?
Flip wise. So I flipped a Moonbird because I bought those things like right as they came out. So I didn't win a mint spot, but I bought those things for like 6 to like 9 ETH. And then I sold one at 40. So that was a big flip for me. But honestly, like Wolf Game kind of, I would say, potentially like saved me. Because I was invested in a lot of stuff that I was like trying to collect as a collector, I guess, or I thought that there was like, I bought into the dreams that people were trying to sell, because it's like, it's guys who own companies and have this and that. And they're like, we're the best, one of the best in the space. And then they just like, they prove to you that they fumble the ball over time. So it was about at this point, like I had lost faith in that project and I was just about to take my losses. And I was like, you know what? You showed up with, I don't know what it was, but like $30,000 when you quit your job. You have about like $25,000 that you could probably pull out. It's time to just pull it out and move on. Like, accept that the horses aren't going to make you money anymore, accept that all your other NFTs are kind of shit. And so Wolf Game came around and I was like, you know what? Like, I want to buy into this with Beanie, but I also don't trust this. And NFTs already like are too high of value and like, fuck it. And so I was like, you know what? You're going to mint like a couple of them anyways. And so I minted a couple of them, saw there was a staking mechanic, saw that like your shit got locked away for like 2 or 3 days as soon as you staked it. So I was like, okay, this is another like nice little Ponzi mechanism thing going on here. So I minted more, even though I probably shouldn't have. And then that just kind of like took off and turned into something that like, really kind of like rescued me and put me in a position to keep like trading some doodles and some other stuff and kind of like help me keep on. So I don't know if Wolf Game is the biggest flip or not, because I don't think it was like there was one asset that ever made more than like a Moonbird flip or something like that. But like in terms of like really rescuing my portfolio, it was Wolf Game that like kind of kept me. I was getting wool. I was getting like, Nick says like the Tesla a day in wool. Like I was getting that for like one day, not full Tesla's value, but like there was like, you could check in like twice a day and you could pull out like 2 ETH every day. Like when wool was at like 50 cents and like you're pulling out like a couple 100,000 of it, like out of nowhere for just doing this and that. So that entire ecosystem is like rescued me and was like, just a godsend to me. So.
Yeah, dude, that's wild, dude, because I had Renegade Master. I don't know if you know Renegade Master, but I had him on and he made like 90 ETH or something on Wolf Game from staking. And it was like, I was just fucking blown away. That was like one of the first NFTs he bought. I'm like, dude, the first fucking 5 NFTs I bought were rug pulls. I was like, fucking Wolf Game. You just went, he was like crazy when he was telling me about the wool. I was just like fucking mind blown. I'm like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of crazy. And, there were other projects that I bought into that I don't know. This is where I get cynical towards this space is like, I tried to give like founders so many chances and be patient with them and like just straight up tell them like, I'm fine with you delaying stuff. Just like straight shoot me. And they don't straight shoot you. And then like a couple months later they fail or they rug pull or they don't even attempt what they're going to do. And it's just like, you know what? Like I'm done buying into you guys' hopes and dreams. Like screw you guys. Like you guys like have all to gain, nothing to lose. And, I feel like most of this space is a failure instead of like actually being able to deliver. It doesn't need to deliver like financial gains, but like where the fuck is the first TV show? Like how many animated characters do we have? Why do we not have like one 10-minute, 30-minute like clip of like a Cool Cats TV show or something like that? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I think needs to get pushed. And like, I don't see that. I just don't understand like what most of these people are doing.
I think like it's wild that you say that. Cause like, I can't even imagine having that much money, like the money that these projects have. And like, I don't know how much money Cool Cats has raised, but like, say $5 million. Like that's not even a high number when we were in the bull market, but like $5 million, like dude, the fucking shit you could do with that. First of all, you could put 3 million of it in a fucking 4% return, run the business off of that money because you probably don't have a lot of employees, and then just fucking absolutely go huge with 2 more million. Like, you're right. Like, it's just like sad. And to be honest, like, I think I said this a couple weeks ago on a Spaces, but I was like, in business, the more transparent you are, and then with transparency, then you follow up and do things like that, elevates your business. And of course, it's hard to tell your customers or your investors that like you might not have it right now, but you're working towards it. And then you show them that you're working towards that. And then you deliver just even a little bit, is like, people can't even do that. And it's unfortunate because they're probably ultimately judging themselves. But like, if we had that level of transparency, like it could take 2 years to do a bunch of stuff, right? And to build a business. But like, as long as they're along the journey, talking it out with their people, like there's so much value in that. And there's so much value in saying like, guys, I fucked this up, but don't worry, we're learning from it. And in 2 weeks, we're gonna have an update, right? It's like, it's kind of wild that the lack of transparency and accountability.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
man,
I just like, I don't want to talk down on anybody, but like, you know, I know what I was making at the bank, and it wasn't like a crazy amount of money, especially after I was done paying taxes and New York City rent and all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure that there's like some Discord moderators who are getting paid more than like people who are holding serious professional careers. And I'm not saying like that's a bad thing, or, you know, maybe it says more about the professional careers need to get paid more, or, you know, that's a whole different debate. But I just think it's ridiculous the amount of money that some of these people are thinking they're entitled to for some of the jobs that I don't think are, you know, as they're not taking up that much time. They're not taking up that much like this stuff to where like a Discord mod needs to be making like 6 figures. I don't think.
No, fuck no, absolutely not, dude. It's like, it's just crazy. Like, yeah, the entitlement thing is crazy, and we'll see what happens. But you know, I'm gonna make a project in the future. But I thought about like in my head, like, dude, if I had $500,000, like, I feel like I could just run shit with that. Like, I could just fucking take that and just absolutely destroy. So then you look at these jobs or these other collections, and they have multi-millions, and I'm just like, what in the actual fuck is going on, dude? I'm just like, these people are just not doing, or like, you know, one project, I'm gonna put them on blast because I did buy them, and I had a few friends who were very passionate, was Losers Club. Like, Losers Club minted out, there was so much hype, they were doing spaces every single day, man. And then they went on like a 3-week vacation. They went to Mexico, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, dude, if you mint out and you're doing good, like, you go 10x harder. Like, there's no other option. Like, I was just like, absolutely,
grind for a year and then take the fruits. Dude, after that,
sold all of them. I sold all of them, and I was like, I'm fucking out of this shit, dude. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is just absolutely absurd. It was fucking crazy. But like, things like that happen all the time, dude. It's just sad.
Well, it's one of the reasons, like, I don't know. I don't know what people's like view of me is within the space, but like, I've never advised a project for money. I've never like taken anything from like a project to like do anything shady. I've never been paid for promotional tweets. I've never launched my own project. There's all this stuff that I haven't done, and I haven't done it like, not because I can't. It's because like, I don't want to deal with the heat that comes with launching a project and then everybody getting pissed off at me when like it doesn't do what they want it to do, or it's this or that, or I don't want to be called like a scammer or this or that, or like an influencer who's just dumping on people. And I don't know, even on like the morning show, like I've tried to not like have things listed that I'm going to talk about, because then people will go by and be like, you're dumping on the floor. It's like, no, I had that listed last night. Like, you know, so it's one of those things that gets difficult to try to share anything because everybody's just so at your throat for all this stuff. And it's one of those things that's like, I'm kind of proud that I've never taken money in like a slimy way from the space. I've always had to try to like put my own money at risk to earn it. But I don't know. I don't, maybe it's my mistake because like so many other people have been able to make a ridiculous amount of money in, I think, not very savory ways over the past year. And I just don't think it's a good look on the space, but maybe it should have been something I did for my like pocketbook. But I don't know. That's where it's like, can you go to bed at night with like your head on your own shoulder with like your morals or not? And for me, it's just, I would feel bad like doing something it's like a cash grab or over promising and then basically being like, fuck you guys, I'm out of here.
Yeah, no, listen, I appreciate you didn't do that. I think, I think if you go to bed at night, that's the important thing. And I think a lot of things with like what you just said there, like on the morning show, or talking about a project, or talking about a flip you're making, like it needs to be okay. I don't want to say should, could. I fucking hate those words. So it needs to be okay, because if I come to you and I'm like, hey, this is a perfect example, dude. I bought pre-mints because you bought pre-mints, and I didn't expect anything from that. I just bought them because I was like, fuck, Wappy's a good trader. He's going all in on this. I'm buying it. And so it's like, if I went to you and I was like, hey man, why'd you buy pre-mints? And you did this, 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 and you're like, I'm going to sell them at whatever, fucking 1 ETH. It's like, there's no expectations there. There's no like, I'm not holding you accountable, because then at that point, if I take money and I go purchase them, it's on me. And so like, that's where the accountability, like, I think if there's a lot of entitlement, all that other stuff we've talked about, but the main core of a lot of problems in the world and in our society is accountability. And if that can be amplified to where people actually start taking accountability for every single thing in their life, like all of this will be solved. And like, you could talk about projects and you could come, like, it's just fucking sad that like people look to blame other people for their problems. And it's like, in reality, dude, it's not your fault if you fucking told someone about a project, they went and bought it and lost money. Like, it has nothing to do with you at that point and everything to do with them.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had somebody who like said something in a Discord or reached out to me, and they were essentially like, you shouldn't have this displayed in your wallet because I might look at your wallet and think that this is you buying it or endorsing it. And then what if I bought it and then like got scammed on it? And so I was like, hold up. So you're telling me that you're wallet watching me, not talking to me, taking actions while you wallet watch me and not talk to me, and then blame me for the actions that you take. I was like, fuck you, dude. I'm blocking you. Get the fuck out of here. But, I think one thing that I look at in life, and maybe it's a cynical thing, but I think this relates back to like mindset and like potentially finding like inner happiness within yourself, is you need to realize there is no knight in shining armor coming for you. There is nobody who gives a shit about you. Like your bags can go to zero tomorrow, and you know who's going to care? No one, because like it's a you problem. And so I think once you get over this idea of like you need a crutch of something, or you expect a crutch out of society, things is a like tough thing to like accept and realize, but like it becomes better for you because you start to realize like I need to trust myself and I need to rely on like how I can stand firm on my own 2 feet to like make it through the world. And I think that like that's a very much like a thing that you can like look at with the Web3 community that we have, is like some people do that, some people don't, but like the space needs to move towards personal accountability, and that's the point of like self-custody. And that's like what eats me up every time everybody's like, my NFTs got stolen is what I say. It's like, you compromised yourself, and like I feel bad for you, but like let's not go out here and pretend that like stolen, like
Yeah,
you did something.
Yeah.
So
No.
I don't know, it's just there's a lot of emotion that goes with all of that, and that's where I like try to take a step back and just be like, what are you really getting pissed off about? Don't take that poison pill, because you're upset at the market, and the market's definitely not going to die. So like you're just building all this anxiety in you for nothing. And yeah, so it's take a step back, look at yourself, personal accountability, and try not to let other people's like what they say impact you too much. And if it does, then you just need to like block it out and move on with it and not feel bad about it.
100%. No, I love it. Yeah, 100%, dude. Let's move into dreams. So I'm a big dreamer. I got some crazy fucking aspirations in my life, but I used to say that I was a delusional optimist, and I've shifted that to deliberate optimist, because I think being a crazy dreamer, you can dream crazy things, but you have to do actions, right? And so that's where the deliberate comes in, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to read you the dream that I have for my life, and I'm going to ask you what the dream that you have for your life is. So I'm a gentle tornado, and I'm an honest, enthusiastic, and successful man that will inspire others to live their life through happiness.
I like that. That's short, sweet, to the point, and I feel like it's all positive, but it gives you like a path to always aim at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. And so what do you do with that? Do you say that to yourself every day? Do you have that written somewhere where you read it every morning? Or
yeah,
okay,
yeah, because it's just like I workshopped it, and obviously I want you to just off the cuff it, so it's gonna be a little bit different for you, but strong, right? I want it to be strong message and the core values that I have, right, and what I'm really here for, Like, because I'm really here for a reason. I really believe that I'm here on this earth for a reason, like to do very big things. And so that, that's been a struggle with me in my job, because I feel like I'm supposed to do something so much more. And that's not like I'm a special thing. It's just, I think that's why I'm here on this earth, is like to do really big, inspirational things, enthusiastic things. And so when I wrote that, I wanted it to be super clear, super strong message of who I am.
I think it is. So I'm supposed to come up with something off the cuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I would say I, Wappy, am trying to be the best version of myself that I can be, and I want to understand other perspectives, and I want to do the right thing, both by like a bigger society perspective, but also like on an individual level and treating people the right way. And I think through doing the right things and acting in a generous manner towards most people, good things will come back to me through that.
Let's go. Absolutely crushed it, dude. I love it. Listen back to that, man. I think that's great. When I let this one go, dude, you gotta listen back to that. That was good. If you could tell your 13-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Think less, do more.
Yes. Actions. Let's go. Fucking love to hear it, dude. Were you
or just do it earlier, I think, is another one. Because I think like you go through life and you're afraid of certain things. And I think, like maybe it's applying for a job, maybe it's asking like somebody out on a date or something like that. But like if you're always going to be shy around like girls, and you're shy around girls at 13 or something, you can wait until you're 15, 16, 17 and still be shy around girls. But at some point, if you want to get over that hurdle, you have to put yourself out there and start learning how to do it. And so if you're constantly just afraid of things, the longer you go, the worse it gets. So it's almost like get that fear out of you younger, because the younger version of yourself thinks it matters so much, but really that's the point where it doesn't matter at all. And so you should be pushing and expanding yourself. So if it was me at 13, I'd say like stop worrying and start going for it, because now's the time where you're not going to get in trouble, and now's the time where it's not going to matter.
Yeah, no, I love it. And one thing I always tell myself if I'm in a crisis is, will worrying help? Because worrying never helps any situation that you're in your life, and any, even if it's one of the hardest moments of your life, it just doesn't help to worry. And that leads into like what we were talking about, like focusing on the other things, shifting your perspective, focusing on the good things. I think when you worry, it's definitely in a state of panic and negativity. And so when you shift that, focus on the good. So I love that. I love that. So one of the questions is the biggest dream in Web3, but I think we had kind of talked about that. So I kind of want to touch on habits. So how do you view habits? Are habits important to you? Is that something you work on quite a bit? Do you have habits?
I probably have habits, but I think I eventually recognize that my habits are not I don't think habits are good. I think habits are things you should break. And so I think there are like good habits that you can have, but if you find yourself like waking up and brushing your teeth, that's a good habit, obviously. But like if you're going to start like, if you wake up and like are doing something that's not necessarily the most positive thing that you could do in the morning, that's maybe a bad habit. And or if you're like eating a pint of ice cream before bed because you like it, that's maybe a bad habit. So those are things that like, just because it's a habit doesn't mean like you should like it, and you should like look to push those. And those are almost challenges that I think you should change.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think working on healthy habits is something I'm focused on, and eliminating bad habits for sure, and leaning into that. So at the end of all this, right, I read you a poem that is very important to me. I don't know if you've actually heard this, depending on which episode you've listened to. This means everything to me. This poem, and I'm going to read it to you. 1 second. Share the screen. Here we go. It's called The Dash by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who spoke at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates of the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you lived your dash?
I like that. I think that's a powerful one. And I think that like each paragraph that you can go to there is like a very special paragraph, but I think the way it ends it, it's just a powerful way to think. And I think it's something I think we overlook in life, because I think a lot of the times we start to think about things once we realize like things are too late. And I think that that's a good thing to do, to put it into perspective, to kind of realize maybe it's not too late for you to worry about whatever you want to worry about with regards to the end.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. I think a lot of the stuff that I do in my life is driven by that poem and driven by regret, man. So when the clock strikes zero, I don't want to regret anything, dude. I want to be able to say that I went for it, and whether that's
Yeah,
whatever that means is at least I did that and could say I went for it. So the dash is very, very important to me. Read it at my grandpa's funeral, so it definitely means a lot. And I think that's how you're remembered and how people remember you.
I agree. I think it's a great poem.
Let's go, dude. Powerful shit. Love it, dude. So we end the show with you leaving the audience and the viewers and the listeners with one final thought. That can be anything you want. And then one final question.
So I have a final thought and then a question.
Yeah, you get to share a final thought. That could be anything you want. And then
Okay.
you get to ask the audience a question.
Man, there's so many things I could ways I could go there, but I'm trying to stay on with what we've talked about here. I would say my final thought would be I truly believe that like you get out of life what you put into life, and I think that's the physical work that you do, the mental work that you do, and the thoughts and like manifestation that you have. And I truly think that if you want something, you need to be thinking about it. You need to be actively having your mind on it, and you need to have like progressive and positive thoughts on how you want to get towards it. And I think without that, the actions that you might take are not going to be like worth it. But you need to be like kind of all in on the stuff that you really want out of life. And if you really want it, you'll be able to make it happen. And it might not happen right away, but that's life kind of like challenging you. And that's maybe it throwing a lean into you on something, or maybe telling you not now, or it may be telling you try another way. But if you really want it, you'll end up getting there. And then I guess the question I would have is, you know, what is the tone that you speak to yourself in? And if you don't know that, or if you're not happy with your answer, I think that's something that you should think about and maybe try to not change immediately, but like, think about maybe making some slow changes over time. But I think that leaning back or going back to what we've talked about in this, it's like, it very much is a headspace kind of thing. So if you're speaking to yourself in a tone that you're not happy with, think about how that might be impacting you.
Let's go. What is the tone that you speak to yourself in? Absolute knowledge. Listen, this is the Hyped Happy Hour, episode 16, with my friend Nick, aka Wappy. Who knows what his name's going to be? Who knows what he's going to do? But I'm fucking excited and I'm riding with him. Dude, thanks for coming on. Thank you for this just knowledge, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciated this conversation. This feels like something that, I've been not knowing I've needed to have happen for a while. So it's been good to have like a conversation that's like on this deep of a level. And hopefully us going this long doesn't impact you too bad. But I appreciate you giving me the time to at least talk this long.
No, it's the best, man. Listen, thanks for listening, everybody. Share, like, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. Share this with someone in your life that you think needs it, can help anybody in any way, and have a great night, day, evening, whatever it is you're doing. Peace.